Hey, hi everyone. I'm here today with Katy Gates. Katy, you want to talk about yourself, your organization, Voters of Tomorrow? They've been doing a really great job. I think you guys were founded in 2020 or
The
when?
end of
Yeah,
2019, active in 2020. Hi,
it's
thanks so
awesome.
much for having me on. I'm excited to be here. My name's Katie. I'm with Voters of Tomorrow. I've been there for a little over a year now. Came on in June of last year, and I run all of our digital, social media channels, all that. If you see us online, that's probably me or my team. Yeah, I'm 22 years old. I'm from Georgia. Graduated from the University of Georgia a year ago, which is crazy. And now I go to Georgetown. So yeah.
Nice. What are you doing at Georgetown?
I'm getting a master's degree. It's called Communication, Culture, and Technology. So it's kind of about like the media landscape, the policy that regulates it, and then how culture intersects with communication. So pop culture, different cultures, intercultural communication, all of those things. So I like
Very
it. It's
interesting.
fun. And I do that while I work.
Nice. And then just to give our viewers some more information, what did you study in college? How did you decide you wanted to get into politics? Was it at aha moment, or was it like a couple events leading up to something? Kind of what's your background, and how did you get to, where you are today leading the socials for Real Voters?
Yeah, so I got into politics when I was in high school because kind of around 2018 with the whole like blue wave thing, I saw a lot of like young progressive women getting elected to Congress, and that was exciting. And also there I always thought that like Georgia was red and that where I lived was really red and there was just kind of nothing anyone could do about it. But our like congressional race, the Democrat lost by like 500 votes or something, and I was like, well shit, like that's less people than go to my high school. Maybe, maybe people can kind of do something to change the circumstances that we're in and to elect better people to represent us. And so that got me really into it. I worked for that candidate. Worked is like a big word. I was an unpaid intern, like making phone calls and text
So
banking
many
and
of us are.
yeah, and like making some TikTok. I was on the political TikTok wave early. Like it
Wow,
was, yeah,
2018?
20,
Oh,
no, 2020. Yeah.
2020. Yeah, it's still pretty
Yeah.
early.
So I got on that shit. So I did that for my local congressional candidate in 2020, and then she ended up winning that time. So I was kind of like hooked because you win the first time and it's like a drug. You're like, oh, this is good. I need more of that. So then I went and did Ossoff and Warnock in the runoffs, and I did just like student engagement stuff. Again, intern. And then I went back and interned for Warnock in 22, his reelection, did the whole hill turn thing, yada, yada, yada.
How
Studied.
was that?
It was good. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I interned for Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Rhode Island. I've never been to Rhode Island, but one of my friends from the first congressional campaign I ever did was his digital director at that point. And she was kind of like, hey, like, come work with me again. And I did, and that ended up working out. So it's crazy. I've known her since 2020 for like 5 years now, and we've worked together twice. So having friends and mentors like that is something that I think also motivated me to like keep doing this, even when it was hard and even when like I didn't win. So yeah, and then graduated from UGA with a degree in public relations, actually not political science, so more of like the
Damn.
applied side of communications online with the press. And started working for Voters of Tomorrow the summer after I graduated.
Nice. And what would you say was the biggest hurdle in your career so far? What is did you ever have days where you're like, this just isn't worth it? I'm sure that happens to everybody, but when you're working in politics and you kind of see the messiness of politics, and like you said, your first race, you guys didn't win. How do you bounce back from that?
Yeah, obviously Harris losing the election was hard, but it wasn't just like the loss because I told myself like I'm prepared for the possibility that she loses. It was by how much she lost, and then two, it
Yeah.
was like a lot of the reaction afterwards from like our own side too was like really demoralizing. Just people playing the blame game, pointing fingers, being really just kind of like mean and nasty. And yeah, that was hard because I was like, I feel like we're losing sight of like the bigger picture here. Like the problem isn't whose fault it is. The problem is like how many people are going to be hurt now because of Trump. And it just felt like people just wanted to point fingers and stir drama and play the blame game instead of like coalescing and like focusing on the work ahead. So those few months after the election loss were rough. I Since then I think it's gotten better, and I've surrounded myself with people in this space who understand like what we're doing this for. and who uplift each other instead of playing petty games.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I know I was the night of the election, I was like, I was expected for the unexpected. I kind of got
Mhm.
myself, in the mood. Like, hey, she could lose. I gave her like a 55% chance of winning, 60% chance. I think I landed at 55%, which was a lot lower than a lot of other people in the Dem circles. They were like, oh no, she's for sure gonna win. And I was like, I don't know, guys. Like the president's very unpopular. Economy, according to a lot of people, not good. Immigration, not good. So you look at the like a lot of issues, like it was dragging her down, and I was like, and like I the whole blame game thing, I we kind of partook in that a little bit too because Progressive was founded. We kind of came out and about after the election, and we were like, okay, our whole thinking was like you look at the margin amongst young men, it was a 14-point swing. And like Biden won young men comfortably in 2020, comfortably. Even Hillary won young men, I think. So there was just a huge swing from 2020 to 2024. And we were like, okay, like we like I saw this partly coming because like I have friends who go to college, don't go to college, and so I try to really expand outside my bubble and talk to them and see how they're feeling. And a lot of them are like, yeah, like, dude, I can't afford a home. Like I don't know, like I don't know how the hell I'm gonna afford a house. I don't know how that like the job market's not good. Like gas prices are high, which is like, something that we kind of overlooked, I feel like. But it's little issues like that that really do compound and come together to create a bigger effect. So we kind of I was a little shocked by the margin that young men turned. I wasn't shocked that they did turn. And but a lot of other voters did. Like I was telling people that, hey, I think that like the Latino margin is going to be a lot smaller this time, and people were like, no, no, like Trump's racist. I'm like, yeah, but like people also care about the economy, which sounds bad, but it's like there's so many other issues that people really care about. And just because you see a person in a certain light doesn't mean everyone else in that specific community is going to see a person in a certain light. So I think part of the blame game was like, we just didn't really talk to voters. I think that was my blame game. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to blame this trans community. We're going to blame this community. No, it's like, we didn't go out there and listen to voters. We kind of sometimes, as Democrats and people on the left, we tend to kind of shrug their concerns, right? And that is, and part of it is being like, hey, like look at the top pendulum, like, oh, the job market is up, oh, inflation is down. But when people are going to their grocery stores and seeing the price of like red meat go up, like just the price of red meat alone, they're like, hey, I don't think the economy is doing that well for me when they have to pay more for gas, when they're getting paid less at work. So I think my whole thing, and I think that our podcast's whole thing is like go out there and listen to voters and voters from disenfranchised areas. Like Georgia has a lot of voters that aren't listened to because the state house is red, the governor's red. So I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you think we really dropped the ball just not listening to voters overall?
Yeah, definitely agree with a lot of what you just said, and it's not that I thought that we shouldn't, like, ask hard questions and, like, change certain directions after the election because, like, that's indisputable, like, clearly something did not work and did not resonate, and we can't keep playing this like, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So that to me wasn't the problem. I think, hard questions should be asked and reckoned with. It was just more of kinda like you said, the finger pointing and the way that people were going about it and just sort of like, yeah, that I didn't like. Anyway, but yeah, talking about Georgia, talking about talking to voters whose voices don't always feel heard. I definitely agree with you there. I think that there's a lot of voters that, both parties can tend to take for granted. In the Democratic Party, there has been misconception that, Black voters are always going to be on our side. And maybe that community does tend to vote like mostly Democratic, but that doesn't mean that they don't have concerns that are valid and need to be listened to and addressed. You can't, just toss people to the side after an election and expect them to keep supporting you if the only time you come around is when you need their vote. And so I think that that's why organizing is so important. That's why funding year round organizing is important so that, we have people in our communities, not just when there's an election because we need their vote, but regularly saying, like, hey, what's up in your life? What could be going better? What can we do, from whatever position you're in, if you're like a state house or whatever, like what can we be doing to make your life better? How can we help connect you to services that the state offers or that the government offers or whatever?
Okay, so Katie, you are the social director for an organization that is actively fighting against Donald Trump and recruiting more young people into the political process. I think that's something that a lot of people in politics have been talking about. A lot of people in general. We want to see more younger voices like ours and other people in politics. So tell me what you guys are doing. What is Voters of Tomorrow doing? How are you guys, really creating a movement?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, we're kind of gearing up for back to school. One way that we operate is we've got a national network of chapters on the ground, both on college campuses and also citywide, like in communities, and then some statewide chapters as well that kind of bring several campus and community chapters together. So, as a lot of colleges are preparing to go back to school, we're really working to give our chapters the resources that they need to expand recruitment efforts when they get back to school, put on events that people really want to go to, and just really plug into like their campus culture and community. One thing that I think we try and do is make sure that Voters of Tomorrow isn't just a place where, you go to learn about politics and how to engage in politics because it is, but also somewhere where young people can really build communities and make friendships on campus. And I think that's really special. So, working towards a back to school push, working towards some fun initiatives for National Voter Registration Day, which is coming up in September, and which we had a lot of success around last year. And yeah, really just making sure that our chapters are equipped to be the best that they can be and do everything that they want to do on their campus to get young people engaged.
That's great. Oh, we all know Turning Point USA has a pretty large presence on college
Yeah.
campuses. So I think, how are you guys countering that? Because for a long time, I've
Mhm.
seen, not that much work being done, at least where I'm in LA. I went to UCLA. Turning Point has like a sizable presence here, and I think that's great. I think everyone should be in, the political process and talking, but I love that you guys are offering a counter for students who want to see something on the left, want to see more young people get involved. So what do you guys like? What does day to day look like? What do your chapters do specifically on college campuses?
Yeah, that's a really funny question, especially with the timing of it, because, we never set out to, like, be an alternative to Turning Point or Young Republicans or whatever. We're not trying to be anyone except for Voters of Tomorrow. We're our own thing, and I think that's great. But we recently had our 4th annual national summit, and it was in DC this year. And I think it was a really successful summit. We had over 200 young people from across the country. We had some really cool speakers. We had over a dozen content creators making content and covering the summit. And it pissed Fox News and Charlie Kirk off so much. Fox News live streamed the entire summit. It must have been a slow news day. I guess there was nothing else important going on in the country if they have to live stream and live react to every single thing we do. Charlie Kirk was tweeting like comparisons with their most recent summit and then days later he did like a whole X live, I don't know what it's called, spaces about Voters of Tomorrow's summit. And I'm like, we didn't say, oh, we're like trying to be like Turning Point, we're trying to outdo you. But if you're gonna draw that comparison, like stay obsessed. I don't know, get a life, okay? If you have nothing better to do, genuinely. Talk about day to day. I don't know what he's up to. So that was a comparison that was made, and it was just really funny because he was on Fox News saying, like, we're making conservatism cool again. We're making conservative attractive again. And we made an edit just basically like making fun of everything that they've said. And we're like, first of all, attractive where? He has a 5 head, but for his gum line, I'm sorry. Like, not to go there, but that's crazy. Maybe he needs a lip flip. I don't know that the girlies are getting. He might need one of those. But again, like making conservatism attractive again. I'm sorry. Where? Show me one. Anyway. So yeah, that was really funny. And at first it was like, oh damn, like we're getting all this like bad press. It's bad press from Fox News. I feel like that's almost and Charlie Kirk. I feel like that's almost a badge of honor. And then what we went and did is we turned that bad press into some really good digital. And that TikTok did pretty well performance wise. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, so they're all up in a tizzy about that. Day to day though, our chapter networks, it's a little bit different because it's yeah, see? Making conservatism
Just to
attractive
our
again.
viewers who are listening, this is a
Yeah,
photo of Charlie Kirk, who is saying that he's making conservatism attractive again.
yeah.
Bro needs to go to like Turkey and get a hair transplant at this point. Like, bro, you have the money, go do it.
Seriously, and the lip flip. I stand by that.
Oh
I
yeah,
think he
there's like
might
no lip. Like I don't see
smile.
what
Yeah.
is going on there.
I don't know. If
Also, you
anyone
can
has
tell. I
recommendations.
mean, I don't think bro uses any skincare. He probably believes that isn't like a masculine thing to do,
Feeling
but
thing, yeah,
I
men
would I
can't
would at
wash
least
their
use some sunscreen or something.
fakes. Anyway, So yeah, he's mad, and that's fine. He can stay mad. That's just gonna age him even further. He's gonna get more wrinkles. Anyway, so yeah, our chapters, what they do day to day differs because a lot of it is like based on where they're located. Our California chapter is involved in a lot of legislative advocacy because your state legislature in California, like California is basically its own country in my brain. It's so huge and really like, state legislation there has the power to impact so many people. So our chapter in California does a lot of that. Recently, they've been advocating for a bill about like better sex education in California public schools, which is super cool. And I think last year, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure last year it actually passed the state legislature, and they were
Wow.
like one of the champions of it. And then I think Gavin Newsom vetoed it. So for
Yeah.
some
He's taking some political moves right now.
Yeah, I don't know what he's up to over there. California, whole different universe. So, like, that's something that they're up to. Our North Carolina chapter is led by a lot of younger kids, actually, like high school. So they're doing a
Cool.
lot of, like, just civic education type events and getting people pre-registered to vote before they even turn 18, which in a state like North Carolina, that's gonna be one of the most competitive Senate races of 2026. Like, that's something that can make a difference. But like I said, all of our chapters are kind of engaged in that community building type thing, just to ensure that like it's not just something that, you have to go to because you want to put a club on your resume, but like it's Voters of Tomorrow is hopefully something that people really want to be a part of and people enjoy being part of, their life. So yeah. And then as
No,
far
that's
as we
great.
yeah, we're actively working on chapters recruitment, both, connecting with people who maybe came to our summit but aren't currently in a chapter and getting them connected with that, and also just online, making sure that people know who we are and what we do and if they wanna be a part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how can people be a part of Voters of Tomorrow? I can like link something. I'll put it in the description.
Hell yeah. You can go to votersoftomorrow.org/chapters to see a map of, like, where we have chapters, if there's already one near you, and join, or start your own, especially right now with the school year coming back up, it's the perfect time.
Katie, speaking about young people and what Voters of Tomorrow is doing, there was a recent poll that came out. I think that
Mhm.
really shows the shift in this country. I think something that you guys have probably been seeing on the ground as well. Want to show our viewers this poll. Kind of want you to dissect it if you're able to, but basically shows Trump's support amongst every single voting group is collapsing, but especially amongst the 18 to 29 age group, where he had a 55% approval rating in February of 2025 and the most recent poll has him at 28%. That's a 27-point decrease in support amongst young people. So, what are you seeing on the ground? What is this what is this revolt looking like? A lot of young people I know are fed up with Trump's whole Epstein debacle. They're fed up with the big, beautiful bill, taking money away from regular folks, giving it to the rich. What are you seeing on the ground? How do you explain this change?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a lot of young people, it's just like the realization that they've been lied to, and that's not a good feeling, however it happens. You don't like to realize that someone who maybe you thought was gonna be good for you or someone that you trusted has lied to you and obviously is making your life worse and harder. On the campaign trail, Trump made a lot of big promises to young people. Uh, Gen Z, we do kind of have the odds stacked against us. We've got the highest level personal debt of any generation. Housing is unaffordable. We're paying more for essentials like groceries than previous generations. And overall, like, it just feels like it's hard to get by, and it shouldn't be. So, with that in mind, you can kind of understand why a lot of young people were fed up and maybe wanted to vote for something that they saw as like a change in the status quo because the status quo just isn't working for our generation. It's not. Inflation is high, wages aren't keeping pace. And that's really just what most young people, I think, across any geographic ideological spectrum want is they just want a fair shake to be able to do well in life and accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. So they voted for Trump thinking that he was the guy who's going to shake things up and do this for them, make gas and groceries cheaper, make housing more affordable, whatever. But then when he got in office, he just absolutely didn't follow through and in many cases did the opposite. You mentioned the big beautiful bill transferring wealth from normal working people to billionaires. It also transfers wealth from young to older Americans. And I think a lot of young people realize too that some of these older generations, like, again, have just had so many opportunities that we haven't had to build wealth, to buy a house, and then build more wealth off of that. The big beautiful bill, I think it's like the average high income 70-year-old is going to gain like over 100,000 extra dollars because of tax credits in the big beautiful bill, while it's stripping wealth and resources away from young people. Like what wealth? I'm sorry. Like what, when our
Yeah.
generation already like has not had the chance to build wealth, buy a home, do all these things, he's actively making it worse. And so I think a lot of young people are just realizing that yeah, they were lied to, and it's not your fault. I get it. I really do. I don't blame you. I understand wanting a better life and wanting to see things change. And I'm genuinely sorry that that's not what people have gotten. And that's what they thought they voted for.
Yeah, and Katie, you brought up some of the specific issues that you've seen, I think I've seen young people care about lately. Housing, just the cost of living, being able to build wealth, starting a family. How much more difficult is that now? I know we touched on this, and you said that Trump isn't really doing much about it. What is the average? What are some solutions that you think we can introduce into the political realm that young people can be on board with? What are you hearing from voters across the country about the specific issues they're concerned about?
Yeah. So Voters of Tomorrow conducts polling sometimes more so like during election seasons. And when we did polling most recently in 2024 before the 2024 election, we found that the things that young people care about the most are jobs in the economy, healthcare, and climate, actually, the environment. And I think that you might be saying, like, "Climate, the environment, what?" Like, that's but it really does tie into so many things. I think too, we saw such a big outcry over the proposal to sell off public lands. Um, so the environment isn't just about climate change, although it is, it's also about preserving our green spaces and our national parks, which are suffering right now because of Trump's funding cuts, and just making sure that we can all go and enjoy, like, the natural beauty of our country, and Trump's messing that up. Like, it's just these basic needs and, like, wants that young people have and young people deserve. We deserve to be able to afford rent. We deserve to be able to build wealth and one day buy a house. We deserve to be able to go outside and enjoy our waters and our mountains without having those lands sold. And so that provision was actually stripped from the bill, which I think was a huge victory and just like a testament to the fact that like young people and our voices do matter and have power. And like when there's enough outrage about something, not always, but sometimes they'll listen because they know that it's politically toxic for them to sell off our national parks or our
Yeah.
public land.
Our public lands. I think that's a great twist on the environment and climate change, where it's not just about protecting ourselves from higher temperatures, the amount of pollution we put into there, which is important, but it's also about the green spaces we have. I think something that our generation loves maybe more than other generations is going to our national parks. I have a lot of friends that like take road trips to them, and we really value it because we're seeing them become, we're seeing less green spaces, we're seeing more pollution, we're seeing just so many effects on the environment. So I also did see that outcry by young people across this country about the bill just to privatize so much federal land. It was like an obscene amount too. I'm like, okay, like these oil and gas companies already have enough land, they have so many permits, first of all, that they're not even using. Why the
Yeah,
hell are we
talk
giving
about
them more
government subsidies
permits?
too, like, yeah.
Yeah, you said the number. Why are we giving them more? It just doesn't make any sense. So I think if we can tie that into corruption, I think the oil and gas industry spends so much money in DC. Tie that into corruption.
Yeah, and same, a lot of the actions Trump's taken on energy is just, like, taking away credits for clean energy that, like, reduced everyone's utility pretty much when clean energy goes into the mix and it costs less, and just because of some weird, like, ideological beef that he has against clean energy saying, "No, your utilities are gonna go up because it's woke." Like, what? Nobody cares if, like, their power is coming from oil or I mean, environmentalists care
Or
if it's clean energy.
nuclear. Yeah.
Yeah, but most people just want their utility bill to be cheap, and because of some weird, like, ideological thing, Trump said, "Nope, actually, everyone's is gonna go up because clean energy is woke."
And I think this has a part to do with it. It's just a blatant corruption we're seeing. Big Oil spent $445 million in the last election cycle. They donated a lot to Trump. And I don't know if you remember, but there was when Trump met with some big oil executives back in the election, he said, if you raise $1 billion
"Give
for
me
me,
$1 billion, I'll do
finish it. Yep.
whatever you want," basically. Yeah, and that's what we're seeing happen.
Yeah, he like literally that was just blatant corruption. It was like, if you raise this amount of money for me, I will give you whatever you want. They didn't even have to raise $1 billion. They raised $445 million, half of that, and they still got everything they wanted in the big beautiful bill. They got more permits. They got green energy stripped, funding for green energy stripped. So it's like Trump's not even just like a corrupt politician. He's a cheap corrupt politician who doesn't even need that much money.
Actually, yeah. Same with I think they like lowered regulations on like coal plants. They said, "Yeah, actually, you don't have to limit your pollution. Pollute as much as you want. You're all good, guys." Like that also ties into health and like the air that we breathe. They talk about making America healthy again, but if our air is toxic and polluted, people are gonna their asthma is gonna be worse. They're gonna get sicker. Like that just ties into health so much.
Yeah, and think about the communities that are being impacted. It's not these rich, wealthy communities that Trump and his donors come from. It is, poor communities, often communities of color in disenfranchised states that are going to feel the effects of this. And there's a funny story. I think Rex Tillerson, he was the Secretary of State, Exxon
Mhm.
Mobil guy. He actually sued a company that wanted to, I think, drill near his house because he was like, "Wait, this isn't cool." But I'm like, "You're the head of Exxon Mobil. You do it to disenfranchised communities." So it's like what Trump's doing is he's not only a cheap, corrupt sellout, but he's going to make these communities worse. He's going to increase asthma and other health effects. So how is this making America healthy again? I have no idea.
It's not.
Katie, how there's been a lot of debate within the Democratic sphere or just the sphere on the left, not even just
Yeah.
Democrats, about how to speak to young voters, especially online. That is your job. Your job is, posting memes, informational posts, getting people involved, using social media. I want to ask you two questions about this. A, what have you been doing to increase engagement? And B, what have you seen some other politicians do or some other groups do that hasn't worked in the online sphere?
Yeah. I think one thing that really helps with young people is when you like survey young people's just like general values, something that our generation really values is authenticity. Like, it sounds stupid and corny, like, be yourself, but, like, it's true because young people can see right through that shit.
Yep.
Like, they can see
Yep.
when someone's being fake and trying to be someone that they're not trying to be. And so one thing about Voters of Tomorrow is we're actually 100% Gen Z led. All of our staff are members of Gen Z. I'm 22, the other members of my team are 20 and 25. So it doesn't feel like pandering to young people. It doesn't feel like trying to be an image of what you think young people like. Young people talking to other young people online, which is like the most natural and authentic thing in the world. And our team and our chapters too, we all come from different areas, different backgrounds. So when it comes to making content too, like sometimes it is genuinely just like inspired by us and our interests and like our like recently I made a TikTok to like the Tyler Childers biting list trend because I love Tyler Childers. I've been a Childers fan for like 5 years now. I love his music. I'm from the South. And yeah, sometimes you do just kind of want to bite someone. So clip that part. So yeah, so I did that. And I'm like, my coworkers from New York probably think like that's the most weird hick shit ever. But like they don't question it too much because they know that like I know that there's a niche for that, you know? I think it's relatable and funny and I like his music and there are also other young people who do too. But like when it comes to other stuff like posting about, the New York City mayoral race, my coworkers who live in New York City and are New York City voters were taking the lead on that because they understood what people liked and didn't like about the candidates. They understood what was at stake in that election. And so they were taking the lead on that. Yeah, when it comes to how we're reaching young people, just trying to kind of be everywhere, kind of why I'm on this podcast, new place for me to be. We're still on Twitter. I know some people on the left kind of dipped out on Twitter
Stay
when
on
Musk took
Twitter. Stay
over.
on
Yeah,
Twitter.
keep posting on Twitter. Keep shit
Yes.
posting on Twitter, honestly, because that I feel like that's always what does the best. And it'll bother me. I'll like think through a really good like explainer thread and then it'll do like nothing. And I'll tweet like the Democratic Party should have a live donkey and like boom, 2,000 likes. So keep
Or just like the meme photo of JD Vance on anything does so well
yeah,
on Twitter, dude.
blew up. So yeah, so trying to be everywhere, including places where maybe the audience is somewhat hostile, like occasionally on Twitter. And yeah, keeping up to date with the trends, with what's doing well on different platforms, with what young people are interested in right now, and seeing how we can insert ourselves and insert some of the things that we care about into that.
No, I couldn't have said it perfectly. I think but young voters especially can see through bullshit. And I
Yeah,
think that's part of the reason why so many of them are turning against Trump now because they are seeing through his bullshit. He doesn't care about lowering home prices. He doesn't care about lowering energy prices. He doesn't care about their future. He doesn't care about making college more affordable. In fact, he's
No.
trying to make college less affordable. He doesn't care about them. He cares about himself, his rich donors. And I think being authentic, even if I disagree with you as a politician on a couple issues, I at least know what you believe in. I know your core principles and I can stand behind them. So I think a lot of young voters, they don't want someone who's necessarily going to agree with them on every single issue. They want someone that's going to be authentic, tell them what they think. And then on most issues, they agree. That's amazing. I think that's kind of the formula going forward. I think we're seeing a lot of, I want to get your take on this, Katie. A lot of older politicians, God bless their soul, doing like TikTok dances and TikTok trends. And part of me is like, it's sweet, it's wholesome. I'm not gonna like shit on it. It's like, dude, do what the fuck you want to do. But it's
Mhm.
like you can tell that they're like Gen Z staffer went up to them, was like,
Think it got into their head. Yeah, you know who's actually very authentic online and old? He's not a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. Chuck Grassley, okay? You just know
okay.
that villain has the keys to his own Twitter account and is just posting whatever comes to his brain. Do I agree with Chuck Grassley on literally anything? Probably not. No. Do I relate to him? Also no. But I see his Twitter and I laugh and I can smile and enjoy it because it's like it's him, it's just him. He likes watching the corn grow and documenting it for the world. He likes his vacuum cleaner that's older than John
Yeah, I
Ossoff.
saw that.
I saw that, yeah, and you're like, "Yeah, this is him." And so I think that I'm, like, struggling to think of any off the top of my head. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is himself. He's been the same dude for, like, ever and ever and ever.
He does
And,
those
like,
videos of him walking down the street and then the
yeah,
caption.
I know someone who saw him at a Whole Foods in DC, and, like, he was just shopping.
He's such a Whole Foods guy, that makes sense.
Right, that, like, Vermont, the crunchy thing, like, I feel like he probably drives a Subaru, you know what I mean? But yeah, so do I relate to Bernie Sanders? No, he's an 80, I don't even know how old he is, from, Brooklyn, who lives in Vermont. I'm 22 from Georgia. So, do I have much in common with him in that way? No. But do I know that, like, when he's posting, I'm gonna listen because I know that it's something that he, like, deeply believes in? Yes. He's just himself, and that's that pretty much. Yeah, I think that AOC is also a very authentic communicator to who she is, and she's certainly someone who can be more relatable to young people just because she is closer in age. She has some of those shared experiences. I also think Georgia's senators, both of them, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, are very true to who they are.
Extremely
Senator
authentic.
he's a reverend. And when he's talking, sometimes even about legislation, like you feel like he's preaching. You feel like you're being taken to church because that's who he is. You're never gonna see him like cussing at Donald Trump because he's a pastor, he's a reverend. Like
Yeah.
that's just not something he's gonna do, even when he's angry, and he's not gonna force it because he thinks young people want to hear someone curse a lot because that's not who he is. He's a religious leader. He's a man of faith. But I think that a lot of people in Georgia, even who aren't adherents to his religion or who aren't religious at all can still like and respect what he has to say and that it's informed by his faith because that's who he is. Same with John Ossoff. He's a younger guy, but he's not, you don't see him doing like TikTok dances because that's not who he is. He's a little bit nerdy, he's a little bit dorky. That's cool. And we like him for who he is. And he is who he is online. Jeez, I've said that like who he is so many times. God. But yeah, he's himself. He cares about the things he cares about. He's made corruption a really big part of his platform. And that
Yeah.
resonates because you can tell he was a journalist exposing corruption before he was in the Senate. Like that's something he cared about for a long time, not just because it's politically expedient now and you can tell it shines through. So yeah, I think those are some examples of people who are doing it right.
Yeah. Speaking about John Ossoff, Katie, 100% agree with you. Younger guy, but he cares about corruption. He's consistently cared about. I think his first bill in Congress was to ban stock trading.
Mhm.
Like this man is principled, and the bill currently that's kind of in the process right now is his bill. I kind of wanted to show our viewers and you a clip. I'm sure you've seen it before. It's him talking about corruption at one of his recent rallies, and I think he nails the head on it. I think he really does a great job. Let me see if I can get it up here. Let me know if it's working.
See, I get why people voted for him. Because even before he came on the scene, America had the most corrupt political system in the Western world. It's been running on corporate money, secret money, billionaire money, both sides. And it's worse than ever now. Citizens United was the worst court decision in modern American history. And when members of Congress aren't begging for money from lobbyists, they're trying to dodge getting carpet bombed by these super PACs. Senators get threatened every day with millions and millions of dollars of attack ads over the votes that we take. And see, this is why nothing works for ordinary people. It's not because of woke college kids or trans students or because there are interracial couples in cereal commercials. It's because the people's elected representatives don't represent the people, they represent the donors.
I just gotta say, this shot of him is such a good shot. I just have to say this. He's a pretty good looking man.
Yeah.
This is him. This is Jon Ossoff. This is who he is. He's not trying to pretend to be anyone else. And I think you nailed the head where he's not doing TikTok dances. He's talking about corruption. This is his big thing. So I don't know what your reaction to this video was at first, but I loved it. I thought 2028, hopefully he wins in 2026. I know you have more insight on that than me, but I'll see Katy. I'll see you as the campaign manager, head of social director, just director of social media for his 2028 campaign.
Well, I think we're focused on trying to get this man through 2026 because he is such a good and effective senator for Georgia. I even know a lot of Republicans who can kind of begrudgingly admit that. Like he's been really good about getting earmarks and investment into the state, which we need desperately in some of the more rural parts of it. And yeah, and he's been such a good champion of some of these things like corruption. And I think that that's a big part of the issue too, into why some young people, a lot of young people aren't super active and engaged or even plugged in at all to politics, is because they think that it doesn't matter because the whole system is just kind of rigged against them. Their one voice isn't going to do anything, and it's going to be what it's going to be, and the result isn't going to be good for us because it hasn't been in the past. And yeah, he's absolutely right that a lot of that is tied to unlimited spending in our politics. And yeah, maybe the average person our age doesn't know what the Citizens United decision is, but I think that messengers and senators like Jon Ossoff too are great at getting the word out about those things and saying, "Hey, this is why you feel like the system is rigged against you. It isn't because of these made up, woke culture wars that Republicans are talking about to distract you from the actual problem. It is because corporations and special interests are legally allowed to buy our elections, essentially. They are. It's in many cases, the people who spend more have a built in advantage that is hard to overcome, even if you're the best candidate in the whole world. And so, yeah, he's naming and shaming the people who are actually responsible. And it's silly, like you said, Jon Ossoff's a good-looking guy, okay? I'm from Georgia. I was in a sorority at UGA. I was planning an event for like a political event on campus. And someone was like, "All right, well, who do the girls you're friends with want to see on campus? Like, who should we get as a guest?" I was like, "Jon Ossoff." Really? Like, the ones who aren't as plugged into politics? I'm like, he's hot. Like anyone you talk to is going to be like, "Oh my god, he's so dreamy." Because let's be real, it's kind of true.
Looks
Or
like
actually,
Superman, dude. He looks like
oh yeah,
Superman.
Clark Kent. So let's be real. If this message about corruption is coming from a guy like him, as opposed to, I don't know, someone old and ugly, I think a lot of people are more likely to listen. That's like basic psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's very valuable in the Senate for many reasons, not limited to those that I just said. And yeah, and I really am optimistic about the odds of reelecting him. And I know that we're going to be putting a lot of work into making that happen.
Hell yeah. I love that. Katy, thank you so much for everything. And I'm going to make sure that we link your social media and make sure we link your voters of tomorrow. I just want to show our viewers real quick. If you do want to, you should go follow Katy. This is her Twitter right here. Thank you so much, Katy.